Halo.
You know the music. Time to dance.
3, 2, 1.
You're listening to the Ultimate Halo Show with the Spartacat and Fletch. Get your Halo fix on the go. Subscribe now to the Ultimate Halo Show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
What's up, kitty cats? Welcome to episode number 4 of the Ultimate Halo Show, the podcast for all the Halo you care about, alongside my true love, Jack Fletcher. I'm your host, Kenny the Spartacat. I know we're back from a little vacation, but how are you, Fletcherino?
I'm good, and I just need to clarify that to the viewers, we're not a couple. Like, you say I'm your one true love,
Aren't we?
May be true, but we're not together.
But aren't we?
We're not in that form of relationship. Well,
Don't deny it.
okay. You can follow Kenny at the Spartacat and myself at Fletch UH.
You can, of course, listen to the show on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play, so you can take your Halo nerdiness with you wherever you go. You can search Ultimate Halo and click follow on Spotify, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts.
So if you want to suggest a question or discussion topic for the next episode, we want to hear from you. So all you have to do is go to the comment section and leave hashtag Q&A with your question, or on Twitter, which is at ultimate_Halo, and it could be featured in the next episode of the show.
We still got that underscore in there. It's gonna go away eventually. You know what's not gonna go away, though?
The news.
The news!
Yeah!
In the news.
Steve Downs, the voice of the Master Chief, and Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana, will be in all 5 cities for the Halo Outpost Discovery Tour. So join the fight with those guys. You can find tickets and info at halooutpost.com. And also coming soon to Halo 5 matchmaking is Covenant Slayer rotates in for Griffball, and Warzone Turbo goes live for the weekend.
And we also now finally have some more news on the Halo TV show that has been long awaited since the TV era of the Xbox One. It's been revealed that primetime Emmy-nominated Pablo Schreiber, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, has been cast as our Master Chief for the Showtime Halo TV show. He's known for his roles in Orange is the New Black, Law & Order SVU, 13 Hours, and Skyscraper, none of which I have seen, which is perfect. We've also cast Korean-Australian actress Yurin Ha. Not much is really known about her role at this time, but we do know her character does fatefully encounter the Master Chief at some point. But that's pretty much it. As of now, there is now a new Twitter account which you can follow for updates, which is at SHO_Halo, which would be a great way to keep up to date with everything happening with the Halo television show.
So very exciting stuff, but in other news, the Meridian Divide book has now been announced. So it's a brand new book coming from 343, and it's all about teens on the search from artifacts on the planet Meridian, which we all know from the game Halo 5. And it's funny actually, because we were discussing this at one point not too long ago, you and I, Kenny, and it's how 343 and Microsoft are shifting Halo towards a younger generation in terms of the audience. You can see that evidenced by the Spartan Field Manual, and it's just interesting. I think there is a genuinely new audience coming into Halo. I think a lot of people have moved away. There is still that core audience that's been there since day one, but in reality, it's a really good move. I think it's quite intelligent. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you mentioned it too with the Spartan Field Manual. I think that's a really great way. I believe they partnered with Scholastic to get that book published, and those are really great because you actually get to integrate with the franchise in a mode of transmedia directly from the Halo franchise that gets you set up with everything you need to know about being a Spartan. And I think that was a really cool way to introduce younger audiences into the franchise in more of a gentle way that's not just blowing the heads off of grunts and aliens and things like that.
Yeah, and it just means for me there's plenty of new guys so I can actually win a game for once.
You need
because
it.
We all know
you need it.
Yeah, I definitely need it. Absolutely.
Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Ultimate Halo. This is the Ultimate Halo Show.
All right, so our first topic on the show, this one's pretty interesting. We're going to be talking a little bit about rumors this week here on the show. So our first one is that Halo Infinite reportedly, again, keyword reportedly, has a development budget potentially in excess of up to $500 million. Now, this budget hasn't been confirmed officially, and the source of this rumor comes from a guy named Ralph Adam in an interview speaking with the German site Xbox Dynasty. And for context here, Destiny and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 didn't really spend more than $300 million each, and those titles alone are some of the most expensive video games developed of all time so far. So if this is true, it would make Halo Infinite the most expensive video game ever developed.
Okay, so first and foremost, I personally do not think this is legitimate. I think it's a great idea that loads of money's been pumped into Halo, but in reality, I don't think Halo needs a shed ton of money putting into it. I think the name itself has a lot of buying power, and I think if you look at Halo 5's marketing campaign, that was extremely effective. And with Halo coming to PC and the new generation of Xbox, I think it's pretty likely that we don't need all that money. If anything, most of your money on video games goes on technology and on your marketing. Everything else in between, yes, of course, it's still expensive, but they're your main costs. So, Slipspace Engine, it looks like there's been a lot of background work put into that, and from what we hear, there's not a lot of flexibility in terms of the old Halo 5 engine, so that's where it all comes from. So, no, I personally don't think it'll cost that much. I think it'll be expensive as hell, and I think it'll probably be up there. But to go from a game's like in the upper tiers like Destiny from 300 million to like just literally jump into an extra 200 million, I can't see it. I'll be happy to be proven wrong, but it's how they use the money they've got, not just throwing money at something that makes something good.
I mean, I personally am not a video game AAA studio accountant. By all means, that does sound like a terribly stressful job, but the report does suggest that the $500 million budget is just really for development, including that new Slipspace engine, which we've been hearing so much about. And again, of course, looking at that demo of the engine that we saw at E3, that was pretty elaborate, pretty extensive in what they're kind of flaunting and flexing with the new muscles of the Slipspace engine. But I don't think it would be unreasonable as well too. If you look at what we already know about Halo Infinite and its kind of projected launch window as well, it is slated, from everything that we know so far, it's slated to be a launch title for the next generation of Xbox consoles. Hopefully we'll hear more about those at E3, but I'm thinking with the new hardware and the new engine, it could make sense that we're seeing this high of a spend. Again, you look at that Halo 5 marketing campaign too, like you said, it was great, but it's really hard to say. It just seems like it might be kind of excessive.
Well, look, put it this way. Generally speaking, a vast majority of your budget on a video game is your marketing. And if that report is true and exact, if any of that doesn't incorporate marketing, I'm sorry, I do not buy it full stop. But it wouldn't surprise me if Microsoft wanted to go all in on this, because at the end of the day, the Xbox Scarlet, as it's dubbed at the minute, really needs those launch titles. Without a doubt, it's going to have to have some system sellers to really succeed. I mean, the PS4 is way ahead, and I think that was one of the problems, and still is to this day one of the problems for Xbox. I think Xbox have made a great comeback, and I think it's done some fantastic things, but it just needs to be able to dominate the market with those system sales. I mean, look at the Nintendo Switch. Look at Zelda Breath of the Wild. That is a sensational game, and quality sells always. I'm a big believer in that. So
yeah,
I don't buy it, but if that is the case, fine. I'm just glad that Microsoft are really going all in on Halo.
Yeah, and notoriously as well too, like Xbox has not been great with all of their first-party launch titles that have been available. That full portfolio has always just been really weak, and we also now have details about what the PS5 might have when it launches. Even things as crazy as 8K has been floated around by Sony. So it seems like they might be going all in if this is true. I think it could do some pretty great stuff for the franchise. More resources, of course, are always going to be better, I think, than less.
Follow us on Twitter at Ultimate_Halo.
All right, so into the next piece of news. This is quite an interesting one. It caused quite a lot of controversy, actually. I can't say I'm surprised by it, but in essence, what was reported by Brad Sams, the same guy who leaked the MCC reveal on PC, is that Halo Infinite was rumored to have a Battle Royale mode.
343 is going to bring Battle Royale to the next generation Halo game. They don't want to, replicate exactly what they're doing, but they're going to bring something along that flavor to the next generation Halo multiplayer.
So, Kenny, do you want to sort of break down what was said? Because, I mean, there was obviously some things mentioned, but also there was a response from Frank O'Connor, which was quite interesting, kind of calmed the waters a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, so this Brad Sams guy, no one's too sure exactly where he came out of as far as his relevancy to the Halo franchise, but he was sort of correct in the sense that MCC did come to PC. That was floated around. He does seem legitimate enough to get a very extensive response from Frank O'Connor himself, and I'll read part of his statement. He said, quote, "We will not talk about the launch content of Halo Infinite until we're ready. I haven't watched the video, so if I'm misinterpreting the headline as, quote, Halo Infinite is launching with a Battle Royale mode, that is still not the case." He also goes on to say, "The launch modes for multiplayer are not 100% defined and are subject to change till quite late in the process, but Battle Rifle will still be there, so you can have BR." But are we interested in big social modes with loads of organic shenanigans? Yes. And then he wraps up by saying, "We are not doing this as of now and no plans to, but Battle Royale could be made for any of the Halo games in MCC or 5 with some content and scripting additions because it is a mode," end quote. So that's pretty juicy. He's leaving the window open. He's leaving the door open. They're not shutting down the idea of Battle Royale, and this is going to piss off a hell of a lot of people. I think that what he's saying is that they want to approach Battle Royale with an open mind and maybe put their own spin on it. They're not going to totally shut it down. If they think that they can make Battle Royale in a way that's beneficial to the Halo franchise itself, in a way that feels like Halo and do it justice.
I'm very, very torn on the subject, and actually I found it very interesting looking at the community and seeing what everybody's saying, and it actually
You should be torn.
I am torn, and one of the things that did shock me was how many people were on board with the idea of a Battle Royale. So
it's surprising, yeah.
So, and I think credit to 343, one of the things they've been very, very good at is transparency and setting people's expectations over these past, few years. You've made a massive turnaround. But in terms of my own opinion, truthfully, I genuinely think that Battle Royale is not just a fad anymore. I did at first, but now it seems that since games like Apex came out, I think there's a genuine market for it. And if I can convince some of my friends who used to play Halo when we were kids and who have now moved away, hey guys, Halo Infinite's now got a Battle Royale mode. Do you want to come play with me? It looks really cool. I'm pretty sure they'd be down just because that Battle Royale element is a selling point. And kids these days, I've got a little nephew, all he plays now is Battle Royale. He doesn't play normal multiplayer games. He doesn't play arena shooters. It's Battle Royale, and there's a huge market for it. So in my head, I want things to stay as they are. I like Halo as an arena shooter. There's nothing to say that they can't be both. But I also don't want to disperse the player bases, much like, COD Black Ops 4 did. It had the normal multiplayer and it had the blackout. So very difficult one. Kenny, what do you reckon?
I think to kind of bring this full circle, we started off the show talking about the Spartan Field Manual, right? We have a whole bunch of transmedia from all over the franchise designed to target a whole bunch of different audience demographics to get them introduced to the franchise and fall in love with everything that it is. And like you said, Halo, I think, is always going to be an arena shooter. And that's something that we know from things that Chris Lee has said about Halo Infinite, in that it's going to be true to Halo. Bonnie has said it's going to be a spiritual reboot for Halo. So we know, based on those words from different people around 343, that, Halo Infinite is not going to go in a totally different direction just because Battle Royale could be, on the table during this development process. But with going back to what Frank said, I think that they're trying to look at other ways to integrate new audiences. And if we look at what is trending right now across the gaming industry, Battle Royale is just a super easy, fun mode to pick up. That's something that I think they can put their own spin on. And to use his words again, loads of organic shenanigans. That's something that Halo has always had with custom games or Infection or even just random shit that happens with the physics engine.
It's a sandbox game. Yeah, there's anything that can happen.
Right. Anything is basically possible with what we have in Halo. And let alone with the scale of what Halo Infinite's supposed to be. I think that Battle Royale at this point, whatever flavor it turns out to be with Halo Infinite, if it is there at all, I think could only do good things for the franchise and allow more people to look at Halo as something that's approachable and not something that is just specifically this arena shooter that we've always known it to be. I think it needs to evolve.
And just very quickly on my last point on this topic, I do believe, and this isn't me saying it as a fact, but I'm pretty confident that there will be a specific team dedicated to a large gameplay mode, such as Invasion or Warzone or whatever the equivalent is going to be in Halo Infinite. So I don't think anything's off the table, but whatever it might be, it could potentially be an evolution of Warzone or something along those lines, marketed as a Battle Royale-esque spin on a Halo existing game modes.
Community Q&A. Have a question for next week's show? Ask us anything in the YouTube comments by using hashtag Q&A or tweet your questions at ultimate_Halo on Twitter.
We are going to move on to your community questions.
Hey.
So make sure you post your questions in the comment section down below using hashtag Q&A or Twitter at ultimate_Halo. Damn underscore. We're going to get rid of it one day, I promise.
Someday. Today's not that day.
One day, yes. So the first question, I'll take this one because it's from my boy Luminous Cactus. What's up, Ludwig? Nice to see you.
Saw it.
Q&A. Halo Infinite obviously seems to be taking a lot of inspiration from previous titles such as Halo Combat Evolved 3 and Reach. So my question to you boys is, do you think they should focus on more shiny, colourful art style from C to 3 or the creative style from Reach? Also, great job on the podcast so far. Can I get that?
Hiya.
You ruined it.
Oh.
Right, okay. So, Kenny, I'll leave this question to you. What do you think?
Reach all the way, man. I am a huge fan of the Reach aesthetic. It looks so gritty. It looks so real. You just the muted colors, the earthy visual language of the armor. Everything's damaged. The city of New Alexandria is being blown to pieces as you're going through everything, and you feel vulnerable just by looking at all of that visual language. And so I think Halo could really benefit from having that more human-like feeling to it. So I would really love to see a grittier style like Reach.
Yeah, and to me, I see where you're coming from, and I partially agree with you. But at the same time, I think there's still room for colour. I know you when you said muted colours. I know you're not saying just have everything gritty and dark. Obviously, I
actually want everything to just be black and white.
Oh,
yeah, I don't want any.
Moving on. No. So, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, Halo Reach still had a fantastic colour palette. It was very varied. It had some of the most fantastic skyboxes, arguably in the franchise to date. But I still think there's room for colour. I mean, you look at Sierra 117, the first mission of Halo 3, that was still relatively gritty. There still is that element in Halo, and especially in Halo 2, when you're in New Mombasa, in Zanzibar, it's still very gritty at times. So I think there's room for all, but I think, a consistent colour palette and, a consistent tone would be appreciated. So I'd say a nice balance between them all. I hate to be that guy. It's just the most cop-out answer.
So moderate.
Yeah. Next question, we got Shadow Scoundrel. So when MCC releases on Steam, what mods do you think would come first, and what would you want to see? Kenny?
I don't know if I can specifically think of any specific mods that would come to mind, but I think what I would love to see would be some sort of version of Forge that's kind of unlocked with a lot of more quality of life improvements, or more assets from all over the game, whether that's, dropping in copies of AI NPCs like Marines or Elites or Grunts or whatever that may be. Anything to just kind of take that user-generated content to the next level, almost breaking the barriers of what Forge was intended to be. Maybe even making your own mission editor, for example, where you can have linear missions with all the different assets that you might find throughout the game. I think that'd be really great for MCC on Steam. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I can see it definitely going down that route. And you look at the modding tool Exuberant, that Game Cheat, our friend Game Cheat did for Halo 5 on PC. There's some fantastic tools in that. You can add static AI, you can change your field of view, you can change quite a lot, to be honest with you, and you can modify all the weapons in certain ways. It's quite a broad tool set, and you can choose whatever armor you want in the game, etc. So it's a very good tool set, and I think we'll go down that line. In terms of the first mods, I mean, at the first stage of a game being released, it's always very experimental. You'll probably just see a green elite or something like that, just sort of people messing around, getting to know the engine a bit more, how it functions on the PC, and where all the files are stored and located. And then from there, I definitely think the Forge thing will be an element. Yeah, and I just quality of life, and I think you'll start to see slight modifications of the campaigns as well. So I think there'll be a wide variety.
Lit. We have one thing left to do. Can I get a ho yeah?
Hey!
Can I get a oh yeah? Yeah? Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Ooh, that was fresh.
Yeah.
It was so breathy. It's delicious.
It doesn't get any better.
It'll always get better. More practice. That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Ultimate Halo Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Kenny the Spartacat. You can follow me on Twitter at the Spartacat. And the one true love of my life, you can follow Jack Fletcher at
Fletch UH.
Delicious. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next week for more of the Ultimate Halo Show. Bye.
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 Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.